gets cold up I didn't see any. Is this okay here, or do you want to see it there?
Yeah, we just can't block the door
And leave a fire exit down the middle, please.
Is this okay?
yeah.
Looking over your shoulder.
Do you wanna? Do you wanna move it? We can move the table if you want.
Yeah.
Ready? Everyone hold their drinks.
Watch your knees, guys.
Slide to the right.
Yeah. Yep.
To the right, to the right.
Yeah.
All right.
You can actually give them another chair.
That's true.
Yeah.
Where's John tonight, Monday?
All right, if everybody could stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Amen.
John says he's in the waiting room.
And I have 3 regular checks. Charles Fitzgerald for $1646.05, Sophie Frizzell for $17.70, and Kerry Mason for $16.01, for a total of $1,679.76. Pass that around.
Good. Thank you.
Recording in progress.
There's another one over there.
Ready? Joseph Bird, 1,001.10.43. John Bryant, 738.65. Adnar Chardnar is 275.13. Evan Crafts is 219.41. Keith Culligan is 678.25. Alyssa Sanuski is 435.66. Alexander Hall is 439.04. Julie Labonte is 420.62. Timothy Labonte is 142.87. Barry Levine is 254.89. Jeremy Potter is 221.64. Nathan Richards 827.71. Katrina Tennant 708.65. Jack Tremblay is 773.64. Trevor Whitby is 745.22. Charlene Confaloni is 27.70. Eli Corson is $1,233.73. Edwin Decatur is 451.13. Jason Brent is 583.05. John Isabel is 361.45. George Kellaway is 35.09. Erica Kenyon is 716.27. William Kenyon is 390.45. Peter King is 78.50. Connor McCollum is 77.57. Aaron Mitchell is 353.24. Julie Tennant is 96.97. Jillian Benedicts is 635.64. Karen Clements 1,326.18. Heather Haggett is 359.46. Tamara Peak is 795.69. Daphne Wass is 843.96. Andrew Gray is 672.57. Jason Gagnon is 297.65. Kaden Blazik Ahern is 720.31. Jeffrey Collins is 851.46. Wayne Robinson is $1,056.84. Kip Kaiser is 834.32. Thomas S. is 129.29. Katie Coppola is 218.28. Shayla Gherkin is 92.90. Mary Lyons Hall is 171.18. Janice Weirs is 838.28. Kiki Donis Wall is 729.65. Marley Beltry is 92.35. Joyce Kegel is 616.48. Kendra Brackett is 581.29. Justin Doty is 899.02. Robert Gagnon is 529.60. Matt Kelly is $800.47. Christopher Spitaleri is $966.93. James Saltzman is $1,087.14. John Ventura is $1,499.50. Jeremy Worcester is $495.57. Jared Wright Ward is $942.93.
Total direct deposit, $31,481.90.
Combined total of $33,161.66. We had 18.75 hours overtime in the PD, 4.5 hours in the fire department, and 1.5 hours in the highway department.
ASAP Landscaping and Design, $3,812.50. Poundtree Medical is $127.98. Denson Construction is $45,161. E&J Auto Parts is $153.46. Eversource is $78.86. Exeter Hospital is $306.96. Department Oil and Propane is $423.50. Health Trust Inc. is $31,981.60. J.J. Keller and Associates is $560. Joyce Kegel is $10. Leaf is $124. James Michaud is $2,000. Monarch Electrical Service is $1,324. New England Barricade is $406.92. Heather Worski is $1,107.45. NHTCA is $16. Oliver Mechanical is $340. RG Toombs Door is $350. Seacoast Mills is $25.95. Seacoast First Aid and Safety is $61.35. Stevens Associates $5,976.17. Tri-State Generator is $915. UniFirst Corp is $63.40. Valak is $211.45. Verizon Wireless is $111.06. WM Corporate Services is $3,268.19.
Total $98,916.80.
We had two ACH payments, one to Swayze for $209,893, and one to the co-op for $671,210. John Morgan's out of state traveling. I take a motion to allow him to attend via Zoom.
Motion.
Second?
Motion and a second. We need to do a roll call vote. I'm an aye. Jen?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
Russ? Aye. Motion carries.
Can you open his camera?
Yeah, I don't know if we've been trying. It's
No?
not working.
Okay.
For some reason, we can't get the camera to work, John.
He can only see you anyway.
That's true.
Yeah.
He'd be staring at you.
All setting the.
Freshly shaved.
Right, that's true.
Hey, Jeremy here.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, he's,
Come on.
Yes, I do. You're all set?
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Thanks.
thank you.
Good luck.
Have a nice couple weeks.
You too.
Yeah, Russ, if you wanna move over, you can move over too, 'cause,
And Bob is here as well, just to note. So, I'm here tonight. We have finally come to the conclusion on the game farm easement. The town council, town attorney has reviewed and approved the deed as written. So the final step here is for the select board to accept their executory interest in the conservation easement. And then further, my assumption is that all the select board members would like to sign the conservation easement deed, but then just kind of logistically, there's a baseline report that's included as part of the closing process but it requires initials on every page. So what we usually do is have the select board approve signature authority for the chair, so that you all don't have to initial every page of it. So that's what I'm here for tonight, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have about the conclusion of the project.
Bob, did you want to add 2 cents, or?
I will just let everyone know that there was a review process for the deed, that's the easement, and that we reviewed it, but we're not land attorneys, and the town council also reviewed it and had some important comments to make, and those went, I think were incorporated into the deed.
Yep.
This is something the town voted on at town meeting as a separate warrant article for $140,000 to contribute to this. I would just add that there were some, there was an understanding based on the discussions during the deliberations about this, that the property would be open to hunting, and it is not. And that's been of concern and been mentioned several times by various members of Concom. There was nothing written in the agreement that the town entered into to fulfill this, so we did not pursue that. I don't think we had much option. The residents spoke, and we are fulfilling that obligation. I just think that it's cause for us to take a harder look moving forward at that kind of thing. If there are concerns town residents have, we want to make sure that we get those addressed properly in writing. But no one at Concom has taken exception to this in any way, but they are concerned about the impressions that were left. So we don't want to get in the way of this process. That's all just for information.
Thank you.
Make a motion that we have Andy initial and that we sign.
I'll second that. Oh, I beat you.
No, you beat.
Motion by Bob, second by Jen. Any further discussion? I'm an aye. Jen?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
Russ?
Aye.
John? Motion carries.
Do we need to do another motion to approve the deed or just for the signing purposes?
I think just for the signing
Okay.
purposes.
The signature and then just the acceptance of the executory interest.
Perfect.
So you just need me to sign these 2 now
I
and
need the
those
entire,
50 later?
I need the entire board to sign those 2, and then I need Andy to sign these 50 later.
Yeah.
Thanks, Sharon.
All right, thank you all.
Thank you.
Thanks, John.
And you just need my signature on this one?
Or is that everybody?
Yes. Thank you.
Notarize it.
You wanna just do this later, yeah?
Yeah, I'll do it.
He said he'll just come by later this week or next.
That's fine.
Thank you.
If nobody has an objection before we go into budgets, I was gonna bring up the petitioners for the question on the COLA and merit raises. Any objection?
I don't object to it. I was just gonna make a motion for the consent agenda just to get that over with real quick.
Alright, do I have a second on the consent agenda?
I'll second that.
Motion by Bob, second by Jen. I'm an aye. Jen?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
Russ?
Aye.
John?
Abstain.
It's weird. I see your mouth move and then like a second later I get the voice.
It's like one of those bad movies.
Yeah, sorry. Connected by phone and by video.
No, I understand. Alright. Lois, Jim, or Julie, which one, Kamal?
You want to just go in a row, or I'll sit in a row? I guess I'll be going first. Julie Believus, 62 Lyford Lane. So I missed last Tuesday's meeting. I usually try to, come to a town meeting, make sure I'm keeping up on things. And I found out probably about the end of the week that something was not on the agenda, and it was brought up about 6 o'clock in the evening during this meeting from Jen, in regards to raises, it got voted on, etc. And one of the things that for me personally, just from talking to families and husbands and wives, not just in my neighborhood, but throughout the community, my biggest thing is lately, this is like the second time this has happened where the select board has not been transparent and has not had something on the agenda. I believe that if we're going to be discussing something that's going to affect the town, everything should be on the agenda. Just so that people are aware of this, because there's a lot of people in town that were not aware of what's happening. Obviously, I can tell by the crowd that's in here. But for me personally, I believe in raises. I was a manager at one point throughout my career. I know what those mean. However, with people I've discussed with in this town that are truly struggling financially, this would be a hit on their taxes. And from what I've read and learned, it's gonna be a forever tax that they're going to acquire from these raises. Not to mention, I've also learned that there have been raises last year in 2020 as well. So for me personally, with what's happening with inflation, we're gonna get the biggest ding come December for electricity and oil, and people are trying to decide, am I gonna heat my home or am I gonna feed my kids? So for me personally, I wanna know if there's other options for these raises. Can they hold back and potentially bring them forward in 2023? Nobody's knocking that somebody shouldn't deserve a raise. Hey, you're busting your tail, you deserve a raise. But I think currently in the state that we are in our country, in our town, and in New Hampshire, we need to look at everybody. This is affecting every taxpayer in our town. So for me, I think my biggest thing is you guys gotta be a little more transparent. It feels sneaky to me by just slipping it in there. And you're my neighbor, Jen. You're smart. Yeah, I see what you do. So it should have been on the agenda and not kind of trickled in. Because there was a lot of people in town that did not know what was happening with raises. And now that they've learned, oh my God, it's gonna go up again on my taxes, just that little extra ding is really, really bothering people. So for me, it does bother me. I wanna know if there's other ways, stipends or something that can be done. I don't know. But maybe we should just be able to kind of look at that as a town and not just, let's put that in, here you go, here's your raise, and everybody just has to suck it up. Thank you.
You want me to tackle that?
Did you want a response to that, or did you just want to?
No,
Put that.
if you
So-
can respond to whatever you want to do.
I apologize if I sounded rude, or
Oh.
I've had a bad day, I'm a little
No,
cranky.
everybody's had a bad day too,
So-
don't worry.
14 years ago, when I was elected to this board, the employees of this town always took a back seat. It was always wait till next year, wait again, and it was a revolving door. We had some dedicated, Wayne's been here since Christ was a corporal. But I vowed to always look out for the employee, because I've worked for municipal government all my life, and I know what it's like when 5 people sit around the board and say, yeah, I know you work hard, but you don't deserve money, because somebody else is gonna get it, or, I understand the tax burden, but our employees have tax burdens too. Our employees have to put meals on the table. So, yes, last year we did a adjustment so the employees got paid an average of what they could work for someplace else. The other problem we're suffering is, we don't have Waynes in the world anymore. The workforce is, I want my money, I want it Friday, and I'm gonna go where it comes. If I start a job now and 6 months later I can look at Indeed and I can make $5 an hour someplace else, I don't have loyalty to that company anymore. You know, I've worked for maybe 3 or 4 employers in my life, and that's the way I am. I'm loyal to my employer, but that's not the way the workforce is anymore. Yes, we need to look at how to do agendas better. But to say we're not transparent when there's video live streamed, I mean, everything we do, right down to the word, is on YouTube. Like, we're not hiding anything. I get what you're saying, that it wasn't, but even if you pack this room, this board's in support of the employees, we were still gonna vote. The next is the budget committee, they still have an option on this, and then town meeting. Like, I see, not to diminish your role any, but to watch what we do, and then have information at town meeting and say, no, we don't want this as a town, and adjust the budgets accordingly. That's my feeling, you know, but, you know, I understand the concern. I work 3 jobs to make sure I can survive.
I hear you.
So, it's not done intentionally, well, it is done intentionally to support our employees. We want people to say, I'll mention, we want people to say, we enjoy working for this town. We also don't want the employees to have to look at Facebook and have people cut them up saying, you know, it must be great to work for the town of Brentwood, you get all kinds of perks and whatever else. So, I think this board as a whole is in support of the employees and trying to keep them in line with the economy. Unfortunately, nobody's in this room has seen this craziness that's going on. You know, who would say that McDonald's is hiring at $18 an hour? We've never seen this. And I think we're all trying to adjust to that.
One of the things I was gonna point
Andy,
out.
I,
Yeah, I let John,
sorry, I can't see you guys.
You
That's
can let him
okay.
go. Let him go ahead.
go ahead.
Is it okay? All right, thanks, it'll be really quick. I agree with virtually everything, Andy just said, but I do want to note that I actually agree with Julie on the element of this being put in the notes. You know, I've talked about things getting put in the notes before. I know others have as well. I don't like the idea that we have notes, and that it's not on a public agenda. I really think that practice does need to be dramatically changed. Like, if it is a extremely minor thing, that is just literally just for us to be aware of, or, you know, cognizant of going into the meeting, that's fine, but we really shouldn't. I don't like the idea of the note. I agree with Julie. I don't think that it is in the spirit of transparency. And I understand the need for it, because if an agenda gets updated, you know, within 24 hours, but then things like this, the COLA, it could have easily been put onto the agenda. I mean, we could have seen that coming. That, you know, other things in the past that have been put into the note, same thing. We could have seen them coming. So, you know, I empathize with Julie on this, and probably other people in the room as well. Again, I'm sorry I can't be there. I can't see you all, but I just want to share that.
Okay, and I think I did emphasize that it is something we need to do better in the future. Bob?
I was going to try to, I think, I've seen some of the communication that went out, and I think one of the, you know, everyone was kind of screaming at 7%. We're agreeing that there should be a 5% COLA. I know the Social Security is going up like 8.7, I think it is.
Yes.
So I didn't feel comfortable going to 8.7, so we did a 5% COLA, cost of living adjustment, because I work in the private sector, and I know in the private sector that I'm in, they're doing across the board 5% increases for employees. And then we agreed that we still like to do the review process, the merits and everything else, so it can go up to an additional 2%. So that's kind of where we were looking at when we moved forward last week, with saying we still need to get the reviews in and review the reviews on how the performance is and, you know, and adjusting accordingly. So we're making sure that we have a living wage for the employees that do work here. We do have some employees that aren't making what they can go down to McDonald's for, or Dunkin' Donuts at this point. So that was kind of the purpose of that, so I don't think it was, you know, when we were starting to get the budgets coming in, and we're still kind of early on in the budget process, usually November it really starts to kick in, and then December we're off to the races, January and February we're like racking our heads because everything's going to the budget committee and then coming back to us. I think that's why we started having that discussion last week, if that explains that. So last week it was kind of like, let's let everyone know kind of where our thoughts are as far as where we're going. And we were already starting to see some of the budgets coming in where some of the increases that were coming in, we were like, okay, let's start looking at that. So that's at least from my perspective where I was coming from.
Russ?
Yeah, so I just want to say I second what has been said thus far by the board members, but it did occur to me coming into this, you know, when people are talking about this, it really is two different issues, the agenda and the actual vote. And as far as the agenda goes, correct me if I'm wrong, this agenda has kind of been handled this way for quite a while, seems like.
Since I've been on the board.
At least a decade that I know of, yeah.
So it's just one more thing as a, you know, in my first year of doing this, it just seems like it's one more thing that we're collectively, as a board, trying to, you know, address. And, you know, I think this is a good wake-up call for how we do it. I second your comments that it's not, there's no intentional hiding of the ball. It's the way it's been done, and going forward we'll have to figure out what the best way to do it is. So I just wanted to point out the two issues we're talking about here.
Agree completely with that, and for clarity's sake, I asked for this to be put on the agenda, and it was put in the notes, because historically that's how things are done here, and I agree 100%, it should have been on the public agenda, and I think it's time that our agenda gets updated. We've talked about it a little bit behind the scenes, but didn't want to rock the boat too much. We've already made other changes, we did a consent agenda, sort of like was on the list, but I think this highlights exactly why the agenda process should be updated. The only thing I'll add to the discussion is that the cost of these increases will have zero impact on anyone's taxes this year, because the board voted to cover the entire amount with ARPA funds from the federal government. So just to put that out there, it does not mean that, you know, in those funds we will have for the next couple of years until they're gone. So at some point these salary increases will come into the general budget, but for this year they will not. So just to put that out there if anyone missed that from our meeting last week. And that's all I have to say about it. We had a very robust 45-minute long conversation at last week's meeting. If anybody wants to go through it, I don't think we need to rehash all that conversation.
Jim, I'll get to you after the other three people on the agenda.
I'm next.
Yes.
I'm requesting this letter, and I'll read it. I'll have copies for all of you if you like.
That's okay, that's good.
Lois DeYoung, Crawley Falls Road. And I'm going to read the letter that I'm submitting to the Select Board. At the October 25th, 2022 Select Board meeting, Vice Chair Jennifer Jones opened the discussion on COLA, cost of living adjustment, and how the town employee compensation is currently managed. Jones proposed increases that should be given across the departments and merit-based increases additional, by utilizing the same mechanism across all departments. These are major changes to the current town practice. This discussion, as we've already mentioned, this discussion was not on the Select Board's October 25th posted agenda. Only a few town residents were in on the audience, and the Brentwood Budget Committee were not made aware of these proposed increases. After less than an hour of discussion and no public notification, the Select Board voted all town employees a raise of 5% COLA, cost of living, plus an additional up to 2.5 increase based on merit. Apparently, the Select Board had planned these proposed increases prior to the 10/25 Select Board meeting, as Karen Clement had calculated the tax impact, and the Select Board had a plan prepared to pay the first year of the $86,000 cost of the 7.52 increase, with using American ARPA, American Rescue Plan Act of 2021, which is a one-time, non-reoccurring federal fund. Okay. Pursuant to Part 1, Article 8 of the New Hampshire Constitution, and Section 1 of RSA, Chapter 91A, openness in the conduct of public business, I would like to ask the following questions. Okay, 1, why did the Select Board post the town employees raise increases proposal on the October meeting and did not post it? Why didn't they post it? With such a large, 2, with such a large change in the procedure and increases, why didn't the board have an open discussion on October 25th meeting and then take the vote on November 1st after the town taxpayers were notified? 3, what can the ARPA funds be legally used for? This is the 3rd time in recent Select Board meetings, Vice Chair Jennifer Jones brought up issues to be voted on that were not on the agenda, the posted agenda. Hence, taxpayers are not given the opportunity to ask questions and voice concerns. I am truly concerned about the current Select Board's lack of transparency and communication with us, the taxpayers and residents of Brentwood. And I request this letter be attached to the meeting of the minutes.
So, to answer your 91A requests, my interpretation of the 91A law is that we need to post that there's gonna be a meeting. It doesn't have to include what the meeting is gonna
No, I
entail.
didn't say you violated, I did not
Well,
say.
the way it sounds pursuant, we're not conducting an open meeting.
I would like to ask, continue the sentence. Pursuant to that, I would like to ask the following questions.
Okay.
I'm asking that in the light of 91.
The assumption that this was a pre-planned thing, I knew nothing about it till I walked through the door at 6:15.
Well, how did Karen have all that information planned ahead of time?
I don't know, but I knew nothing until I walked through the door at 6:15 and the conversation was going
Well,
on.
I'll find out, that's what I'm asking.
All I did was I took the figure from an average payroll and I multiplied it by 7% times 39 weeks. And that's
During the
how I-
meeting.
During the meeting, and that's how
That was the first you'd heard about it?
that's how I come up with that
Was that the
figure.
first time you heard about it?
I had heard about it when Jen asked me to include it into the
At
notes
that meeting,
for the
not ahead of
meeting.
time?
Well, the notes are prepared ahead of the meeting.
And then, do you want to answer the ARPA question?
And the ARPA funds are allowed to be used on any expense that is already in your general operating budget. So they are funds that are available to the town to use. They have to be committed by December 31st, 2024, and spent by December 31st, 2036.
What, Chief?
Have you considered other things besides, for example, using something for their health benefits, and other ways of using the money just, is this only a
So-
one-time thing?
We got a lot going on. You answered your 3 questions. My other statement to you is, what was the change in the employee raises. Last year, we did a wage adjustment, the year before, we did something else. The year before that, we did something else, so what was the change that you're alleging we didn't do?
Have you ever done, I don't believe, I'm only on 3 budget committees, that you ever, across the board, gave a raise all of it before the budget process ever started? I'm not aware of any.
Usually that's how we go, is before the wage adjustments, department head meeting, we used to sit down and say, we're gonna give you whatever is what we're suggesting.
Right, but you never across the board, that at least I'm aware of, maybe certainly that's possible, that you actually gave away with that vote, from what I understand from the vote, you gave that across the board, that was a done deal.
5%,
Right,
Yes.
but that was a done deal.
yes.
The first thing before any budget committee meetings, anything.
Lois, we have done COLAs before. We used to do, as you know, I did BudCom for 9 years, and then I did it for several years when I was on select board. And I'm on my 9th year now on the select board, so 18 years all in. We used to do COLAs across the board. And then we wanted to do merits, and we wanted to start reviewing things. And then we started finding out that we weren't being competitive with the marketplace because we had other municipalities that we were falling behind, so we had to do wage adjustments. And that was several years of doing that.
And all those things, when you had a discussion last week, those things should have been discussed, but not voted on at the same time, given the time for the rest of us, the rest of the town taxpayers that pay your bills, pay the bills here, that to know what this is going on, where you're at, not at the same night. Because it looks like you just slipped it in when we were, basically, there was 2 of us here.
The other thing to remember is everything that we discuss when it comes to the raises and stuff, these still have to be ratified at the town meeting, and they still have to be ratified by the budget committee. And sometimes when we send budgets over to the budget committee, it goes to the budget committee and then it comes right back to us because we have to revisit what we just voted on before. That happens frequently, and you know from being on the budget committee, it happens quite a bit.
Would be better attended if they knew what was coming and what you've done. We're gonna get a good, next Monday, or Tuesday, whatever, we have another 2 weeks, I guess. Our next meeting, we're gonna find out, because the people are gonna start watching. So thank you for that. Because by doing that, what you did, you look like it's a little, shady.
And I don't know if we can put the notes into we do notes, but I don't think those go into the
That's a
meeting
letter.
notes.
You can attach it to the minutes.
No, we have notes for our meeting, which is kind of lets us know what the topics that we're gonna be talking about, and maybe some of the issues that we have going on, but I'm not sure if that's included in our agenda notes or.
Most of the time, the notes are just
Our notes.
like, Karen's taking a day off, who needs to be at
Yeah.
elections, it's
Yeah.
not an agenda item.
Right.
Sometimes it happens, like, I've called on a Tuesday and said, hey, we need to talk about this
Right.
tonight, and the meeting agenda's already been posted.
Yep.
So, maybe sometimes I need to have my bright ideas before on Tuesday, but,
And I've done that before too, when I've called Karen and been
Is there
like,
some reason you can't put out a revised agenda, the date of it?
we couldn't, but then it becomes confusing.
because you have to have it posted 24 hours technically before the meeting.
Chief Insurer?
I just, yeah,
Yeah.
on this letter, if I'm not mistaken, it lists voted all town employees a raise of 5% COLA. That's not a raise, that's an adjustment, COLA.
It's
Whatever you call it.
But it's cost of living, is it cost of
It's an
living or is it,
adjustment, it's a
Still a
wage
raise.
adjustment.
right?
That's a living raise.
So is it, it's all caps raise of cost of living adjustment? I would take umbrage with that. Apparently, the select board had planned these proposed, that's not true. And then the second time in that paragraph, had a plan prepared, also inaccurate. So, I just wanted to make sure that was clear.
Any other before I move on, Mr. Misha?
Jim Misha, 329 Route 125. I have something prepared, but I do want to just acknowledge and thank the board for their willingness to see the flaws and to try and work on it to better them. I'm speaking to you tonight not only as a resident, but as a business owner in town. The select board should not have voted on these raises without being on the agenda. I personally don't have any problem giving our town employees a cost of living increase, raise, or even merit increases if they are warranted. But the board must be upfront and transparent about it. This is not about the raise, this is about transparency. Respectfully, all of you work for us, the townspeople, not for your own personal agendas, which I fear is happening here at times. The select board is supposed to work for the townspeople, and the townspeople have a right to know what the select board is working on their behalf. We are the ones who pay the taxes. We are the ones who are affected by your decisions. And ultimately, we are the ones that vote. We are, in fact, your boss, the townspeople. Thank you.
You're up. Does anybody get a timer?
I can do
I'm
that.
gonna open it up to a quick 1-minute question to anybody that wants to ask a question. Jim?
I got 2 points. Everybody in here is the employee. You people are elected officials. You're not the sole employees. Article 8 of Part 1st of the Constitution states, you derive your powers from us, the people. That's number one. Number two, did you authorize Karen to go through and figure out all these figures, and then she presents them at a meeting, and you vote on it? How does that work? I don't believe a word of it.
So Karen just explained that she took the average amount of payroll and did 7%.
That's not her job. You don't work for her, she works for you. Did you order her or ask her to do that? This is how this board is supposed to run. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Minutes up.
Chief? Sure. I don't want to cut you off, but you get a minute too.
As soon as he starts.
Don't waste your time, Walter.
I got the time, ready?
And I'll tell you what happened, I'm the one that spearheaded this. I am. I went to Karen, and I was the one that said, hey, it's budget season. I was chomping at the bit to do budgets. We do them late here. I come from municipalities where we were done with them by October. And I said, hey, what's going on with the budget? Where are we going? Where are we going? And I started working the figures in my own department, because that's what we do in a budget season. We have to budget it so you people all get those answers. Russ hit it on the head. This is a two-part thing that came up tonight. There's process, and then there's the argument about COLA. But I just need you people to remember that there are people attached to that COLA that work extremely hard for you folks. There was a number thrown out in one of the postings of $86,000. This is what it'll cost you. And I can only speak from my department. I have 2 people out of contract next year, okay? And if we treat them as we're talking about, and they leave, I'm going to ask this same board next year for $80,000 to train just 2 people. And that's one department, folks, one. Protect the people that you've invested all this time. I'm telling you right now, these people work very hard, this board works hard for you. Protect what you have for you. If you want to argue process all day long, and I think admittedly they're talking about changing a process which you people brought forward, that's great. That's how government works. You call them out, they listen, and they go. That's all I'll say. Sorry.
Thanks, Chief.
I'm getting the axe.
Thank you, Chief.
I saw Mrs. Freya first, and then you can go.
Mr. Burleson.
$86,000, how many employees
Jim,
is
just
this?
your name and,
Chimberlo, Scrabble Road, $86,000. 2 questions. How many employees does this encompass?
how many full-time employees do we have?
20, and then we have the call department. So on average, we have about 55 to 60 employees across all
20
of the
full-time and
departments.
then The fire department call, department makes up about 30 employees.
Second half of this question, ARPA funds. Federal money, the $31 trillion in debt, federal government,
Yes,
this is a one-time payment,
yes.
and then next year, we are burdened with this automatic increase, no matter what we do. This is buried into this year's budget.
Not buried.
We own it, and there's no way out of it for us.
Karen, can you clarify the ARPA total amounts, please?
We received $472,000, and we have spent, I believe it was $115 that was appropriated in the warrant article for full-time firefighters, but we have not spent all of that money because of delays of hiring.
So we have
So we still
close to
have,
$400,000 to use
Correct.
for this year and future budgets. Thank
yes.
you.
To tie future budgets.
Yes, you are correct.
Go ahead.
Liz Frio, South Road. So, I would like to remind you that last year, or the current year, the Recreation Department received a 20% raise, whatever you want to call it. It didn't go down. It went up 20%. The town clerk tax collector got a 16%, the deputy clerk got a 17%, and the town administrator got a 16%. That was with a COLA of 5.9. I don't know when, in the 18 years that I've lived here, you did COLAs, but I don't remember them. Bill was on the board for 6 years, I was on the BudCom for 3 years. I don't ever remember us doing COLA. And this isn't a COLA, cost of living, this time either. It's something different than the cost of living. But if you're gonna do the cost of living, there were some times, there were two times before 2015, between 9 and 10 were also 0. 15 was 0, 16 was 0.3, 17 was 2, 18 was 2.8, 19 was 1.6, 20 was 1.3. I don't remember when any of our town employees got that low of a cost of living or any kind of raise. So, it's absurd.
Thank you. Mr.
For
Freya.
time,
I wanted to just kind of follow up with what Jim just said. I wanted to point out to you that federal funds, the federal government has zero money, zero. There is no money in the federal government. They don't go tap into a savings account that they have. All of the money coming from the federal government is taxed. All of it, every single penny. Every time we tap into the federal grant, the federal ARPA funds, the $31 trillion that we're in debt for, that's all our money. It's coming out of our pockets. All the money the federal government gives us comes from us. So when we tap into that, you need to keep in mind that what we're getting from the federal government, we're all paying. One way or another, we're all paying. Because they have no money. The federal government has zero. In fact, the federal government is more in debt than most of us are. So remember, when you do that and you say, well, there's no tax impact. This year, there's a tax impact because that money's coming from us. And the tax impact for us is a double tax impact because we're gonna have to pay it forever after that.
Thank you.
And you got that new complex going down here on North Road that we're gonna be on the hook for too.
Well,
Same funds.
that's the county budget.
But it,
Thanks, Jim. I have a lot of people. It's not that I don't care,
but that's a-
it's that we have 50 people in the audience, and if all 50 people talk for a minute, that's almost an hour.
Rebecca Dunn and Block Drive. I believe at the last town meeting, I suggested that when employees' salaries are, when they get their letter about their next year's compensation, which should include not only their cash compensation, but the cost that the town pays showing how much their total package is. I think that puts a perspective on what our employees are receiving, not just the cash that comes in a check, but if it's Social Security that we pay a portion of, employee tax, health benefits, all of those are going up significantly. So there should be I would like the board to consider doing that kind of letter to employees in the next rounds of announcements. I think that adds a perspective that they're not only getting the cash, it puts a perspective in, because I don't know that every employer pays all your health costs and everything else, so I think that is a necessary step.
Thank you.
and there was, I know in the budget committee before, it's been brought up several years to have total compensation package bundle to include for New Hampshire retirement and all that stuff. I don't think we put that together.
Never.
But that's been requested for the last several years.
Sir?
James Goodwin, South Road. Yeah, I think, we're all heated a little bit because, we're all feeling it, right? And we wanna take care of the chief here and all the workers, for sure. I mean, we wanna take care of everyone. It was just, the rate of the increase and then how it went down is what really upset everyone, is how it didn't seem that it was on the up and up. It was kinda slipped in, that's all. With everything going on, we feel that way. And correct me if I'm wrong, this money is coming out of I believe you said the COVID relief fund, is that correct?
ARPA, right?
Which it essentially is that,
Yep.
correct?
Yes.
Right. So there's two things with that. We feel a little bit slighted that it wasn't quite spoken and on the agenda. But let us all not forget that our Governor Sununu, passed that on a late night, unannounced meeting with a legislative session on a Thursday night, okay? And he passed that without announcing it and letting anyone be in on it. And he passed that COVID relief bill, and what's attached to Washington. Let us never forget that. We're gonna be on the hook for this. You're just kicking the can down the road. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Yes,
Janice has something to say.
Just your name and
Oh,
what
Patty
road?
Shorman, 7 Linden Drive. To her point back there, can we find out what the total compensation package is? It's great to give it to the employee. I'd like to know if really you're paying 100% of their health care, they don't have to put anything into it?
A single person gets paid.
Well, let's put it in writing so we, the voters, know what we're paying people. What are the other things in that compensation that we don't know about? I think it's fair for us to know because we're paying it too. So can we include that information to the taxpayers here in Brentwood? Thank you.
Thank you.
No.
Sir?
So Nick Wrighton, 102 Middle Road. I'd just like to ask the board what their definition of a full-time job is. How many hours does that entail? How many days does that entail? Is it 40 hours? Is it 32? Days off, telecommuting or virtual, they counting towards that? I'd like the definition, please.
Well, my definition is 60 hours, but that's because I work in the private sector, so I don't know. Well, for me, it's 60 cents an hour. I don't know what everyone else's definition is.
There's a couple of different definitions because we offer benefits to different. Karen, do you want to explain?
Isn't a full-time job a full-time job?
So a full-time position is 40 hours. A person becomes eligible for health insurance benefits with an average of 32 hours. No, at 32 hours.
Sir, can you let her answer the questions?
Speak up. We cannot hear you.
And New Hampshire retirement kicks in at 35 hours.
Can you stand up so we can hear you or at least read your lips?
Can we be a little more polite? That's 3 people now who have responded to her while she's trying to talk. That's 3 people now.
We can't hear her.
There you go.
Can you hear me now? A full-time eligible employee is 40 hours per week. They become eligible for health insurance benefits at 32 hours and New Hampshire retirement at 35. Remote hours do count towards your regular work hours, yes.
Who works from home? I work at home.
Some employees do work at home if their schedule allows for it. So to maintain consistency, I have asked all employees that are eligible to work from home to choose a day, and then we have staggered them so that employees are not all remote on the same day, so that it does not impact office hours, it does not impact the hours that we are open to the public.
Any other questions? If not, I'm going to move on to budgets. Janice?
So Janice, speaking from the library, I want to offer a different perspective, and that is we talk a lot about percentages, but I think what you're forgetting is percentages are based on a base wage. And if somebody is only making, say, $20,000 a year, 5% is not very much money. I think to kind of reiterate what Chief said, we are people. My people that work for me at the library work hard. They work extra hours, they stay late if a patron is not ready to leave. They work hard. And
and they don't ask for those, 10, 15 minutes of time, on their payroll. It is really disheartening to see on social media, basically an attack on the staff and the board of this town. None of you would appreciate that kind of attack. We don't appreciate that. And I would just ask that if you have questions, ask them. But let's be respectful to each other. Let's be a team.
Thank you.
Right.
All right. So I'm gonna surmise here a minute. 80% of this is because we didn't agendarize this properly. 20% of this is the amount of money where we're talking. So the board will do better in their agenda and come visit the budget committee if you want to talk about raises. Because that's the place that can be cut. And town meeting.
Can you give us the date of the next budget committee meeting to verify that?
November 14th.
The chairman's sitting right next to you, so he can,
November 14th, 6 o'clock.
Here? Okay.
and they'll now be live streamed. So you can watch from the comfort of your home. All right, with that being said, we're gonna move on to budgets.
The first floor, Daphne.
Can somebody ask Daphne to come on in?
Oh, she's right
Oh, she's hiding.
there. She's like a gopher.
Yay, all right.
Okay, Andy,
Ooh.
get that.
All right,
Might be good.
5-minute pause.
we're gonna take a 5-minute break because
All right, Russ.
we
I'm
want
hitting
to.
I
timer.
try, man.
Yeah, give me a few minutes.
Hippocratic. Okay.
How you doing? I didn't get hit
I
with
would
Reese's
just like to
peanut butter.
say you're all
I
amazing.
tried, you took it away.
Amazing.
She took it away?
I'm coming for you now.
She got a frozen one, didn't she?
I hate these.
How you doing?
Andy cut me off, I was just kidding.
I was gonna give you my minute.
No, I was trying to mute it.
That's all right.
Thank you, chief.
Do you want me to pause?
Oh,
Yeah.
If you want to mute it.
it was only the truth, and I didn't mean that.
right, we're gonna read,
I think you just shut it off.
Oh, was that how you muted it? I'm an idiot, sorry.
You hit the button.
Oh,
Daphne, floor is yours.
Ready?
Ready?
I'm here to justify my existence, right, Jeff? Where do you want to start?
Town meeting.
Town meeting? We're not gonna have one this year.
Sweet.
But it's down 22%. Anything else?
Can you just explain why the decreases are there?
Because, let's see,
Three
we had,
elections?
town meeting includes the town, yeah, it's the election. So this year we had 4 elections. Next year we have 2.
Okay, so it's just numerical. Got it.
It's just numerical.
Gotcha, thanks.
I didn't want to point that out, but yeah.
When's the big year, 2 years from now, is when we have like all of them? Or
Yes.
2024?
2024, there'll be
We have
5.
maximal, yeah, okay. So this
There'll
will
be
swing the
5.
other direction next year? Okay, thank you.
So I like to move the $2,801.
Second.
I have a motion, a second. Does anybody want to discuss that? Russ, any questions?
No.
Jen?
Nope.
By the way, am I covering the budget committee this coming
No.
Monday? Second Monday of?
Third. Trace.
Trace.
John, you still with us?
Would be the 21st.
I am, but it's very loud here.
Okay. Motion, a second. I'm an aye. Jen?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
Russ?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Motion carries. Elections.
It's the same thing. There were 4 this time. There's only 2 next time.
So it's a negative 29.5% reduction. I'm gonna make a motion for 7,326
I'll
for
second
elections.
that.
I have a motion and a second. Any questions? I'm an aye. Jen?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
Russ?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Motion carries. Tax collector?
So, where do you want to start with tax collector?
Well, let's see if anybody has any questions. Everybody just wants to review the tax collector budget, and then you can ask Daphne.
Is this top section supposed to go into it, or?
The top section?
Yeah, the FICA,
Oh,
the
that's
Medi,
just
those are your
that's
notes?
just my calculations, yes.
Okay.
Debbie, can you talk a little bit about, I think there's some wage adjustments built in here based on like personnel changes that occurred? Can you
Yes.
maybe put some insight into that?
So, was it last year or was it this year? It was This- the 22 budget. So it was last year that we had a change in our office, and 2 people's, how do I want to explain this? Their job description changed. So my clerk became my deputy became my clerk. So at the time, we did not do any wage adjustments because I wasn't really sure it was gonna happen, and then we did lose an employee. So this year, their change in their wages is a wage adjustment. It is not a COLA, it is nothing, it's not a merit, it's a wage adjustment to get them to where they should have been, like we did last year with everybody else's.
So
Because
if
of
you
a
flip
change
to
in
the,
job description, essentially,
Yeah,
promotion to a higher position.
yes.
if you flip one more page, all the employees and the rates would be there. So the first rate would be the current, and the second rate would be
Suggested.
what, yes.
Yep.
And with my deputy is only in my office 16 hours. So what I have done to make sure that I have her when I need her is instead of just the 39 hours,
I put in 42 hours, 42 weeks, sorry, not 39 weeks, 42. Because that is actually a full week. So if I'm on vacation, if I'm in conference or whatever and she's here, if she covers for me, I need to be able to cover it in the budget. So that's why the change in the weeks, that you'll see a difference.
So that's a buffer zone, basically.
Yes, I also have that for my clerk. She has an extra week in there as well to ensure that that's covered. And that will also be the same in town clerk.
So just to sort of paraphrase what you said, last year, multiple different positions in town got a sort of market adjustment comparing with other towns. These positions did not, because there was personnel transition, so those were put on hold. So this is the sort of bigger bump that happened last year for other people.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. That helps explain it.
The only, there are no other changes in the budget except for, you know, the Medicare and the retirement. Those are the only other changes in the budget.
And are these new salary numbers, was this based on a similar sort of market analysis of surrounding towns?
Yes, that's
Like
exactly what it was.
Thank you.
And the exact same towns
That we used for
last
other,
year,
perfect,
yes.
thank you.
New Hampshire retirement's up 12%, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Well, the more money you add, the more
Because
money.
of salaries going up, yeah. I'll make a motion to approve the, I think this is actually two separate budgets, right? So there's
Yes.
the 71, 720, 35, which I believe is the collector. Is that the one we're doing first?
That's tax collector, yes.
Yes.
I'll make a motion to approve that
So
budget,
that's up $6,563.53.
which is mostly wage adjustments.
Okay, can I ask a quick question?
Sure.
With the how does the 5% COLA impact these? Is the 5% COLA getting locked on top of this, or is this?
It's included, right?
It's not getting locked in top. It would be included.
It's included.
It's included, John.
Okay, thank you.
And I just want to clarify, there was a wage adjustment given last year. It just wasn't to the.
It wasn't bringing
right
up where we
people.
wanted them, right? To the right people, yes.
Oh, it was to people who no longer work here.
Yeah, so
Gotcha.
the deputy would have got the wage adjustment, but
It
with the
happened
change in
after the fact.
positions, the person that didn't get it, so.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes sense. So the wage adjustments were given, but to people who then left those positions and were replaced. Gotcha.
So there's a motion on the table for 7/1/7/2035,
Second.
seconded by Bob. Any further discussion? I'm an aye. Jen?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
Russ?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
And then the second part of the budget is just basically, it's kind of split in half, right?
The town clerk it's the same thing. The only other thing that increased with town clerk are dog licenses, meaning the actual tags. We have to pay for those, and those prices have gone up.
So it's gone from, so it's up 18.18%.
So it went from 275 up to 325.
Is that because of the amount or because of the cost per
Both.
license?
But the cost per license is more, but we also have probably 200 more dogs in town. It's crazy.
Wow.
Do we have the option to raise?
That's set by statute.
The amount that we charge?
Yes.
And what's the current?
It's $7.50 for a neutered or spayed dog, and $10 if they are not spayed or neutered, and $3 for a senior for your first dog. The person is a senior, not the dog is a senior. Because when I would say I'm in,
Well, sometimes I feel like a senior.
you're this close.
I can almost sense it. I feel it every morning I wake up.
So the big change in this budget is exactly the same thing that we just
It's
discussed.
exactly the same.
with
$6,613.53 increase. The new budget is $74,530.35, up from $67,916.82. Total budget increase of 9.74%.
I will make a motion for that 74,530.35.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? I'm an aye. Jen?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
Russ?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thanks, Daphne.
And that's it for you, right, Daph?
Well, I did leave my beverage cart out of this year, but next year I'm coming for it.
But I heard you were going for hard liquor though.
Martini cart, is that what we're talking?
Listen, whatever you desire.
It could be an In-N-Out.
Burger?
No.
I said
Because if you charge
alcohol.
enough for the alcohol, it'll pay for itself and
Budget neutral.
See, wait a minute, that's not on the agenda, we're not talking about it.
Do you need a liquor license then?
probably.
Yeah, probably.
Which means the health officer needs to sign off on that.
Yes, good night.
No, you gave me a hard time earlier, you have to stay.
Oh, you know what, Daphne, before you leave, this isn't a budget issue, but I completely forgot to bring this up last week, as follow-up to 2 weeks ago. No, tiny little issue. I had brought forward the,
Tiny little vote.
explanation of the ballot questions, and Karen had said, why don't you check with Daphne, so I checked with you, and you said that the state had not provided any more substantive explanations, and that you were not opposed to us posting it, but felt that it should come from the board rather than from the clerk, just because of sort of proprietary reasons. So I just wanted to bring that back to the board in terms of us posting the deeper explanation of the ballot questions on the town Facebook page. And if so, whether we would want to say, on behalf of the select board, or I'm happy to have it be on behalf of me because I'm the one that's bringing it forward. I just think it's really, that one reference that I put forward is just a really helpful
And
explainer.
that was that women's.
It was the one that happened to come
Coalition?
from the League of New Hampshire Women Voters. There's other ones out there, I just didn't think they were as clean. And what I liked about it is it's nonpartisan, it doesn't express an opinion on how anybody should vote, it just gives a history of why those two items are on the ballot in a way that seems much more detailed than what the state provided, which Daphne agreed was somewhat minimalist.
I did. The only thing that I would caution is that the town cannot appear to be taking any sort of position if you're putting it on a Facebook page.
Yep.
Because our new Facebook page, by the way, is Brentwood NH, Town of
Yep.
Brentwood NH, is for information, not for, I'm coming for you, not for opinion.
Correct.
So, yeah.
And I don't know if you read that, but
Yep.
it has no opinion, it doesn't
Yep.
state any opinion at all, which is why I liked it.
Yep.
Because it's not our place to give an opinion, but I do think it's really helpful to explain what you're voting for.
And I remember, did they give permission to?
Share it, yes.
Okay.
Yep.
That's the only other, I just don't have.
So I just wanted the
copyright
board's
infringement.
opinion, did the board feel more comfortable posting it from the whole board? Or how would we like to post it? Because I think we just need to clarify with the post that it's coming from the board and not from our sort of election side of Daphne's office. That was my interpretation of what you were asking me.
Yes.
How does the board feel?
I'm fine with creating a link so somebody can go to that link
Sure, we can put the
versus,
PDF URL.
versus having something restated by us saying
Yep.
it's from us, but it's really not. So that's just my thought. I'd be all for putting a link. But I'm still for putting a link for the Brentwood newsletter too, so.
Okay, so maybe we can just say the Brentwood Select Board would like to share this, link that explains the ballot questions further, and we can just put, I'll send you the PDF link. Perfect, okay, thank you. That was it.
Do we need a motion on that?
Yeah, I would.
I'll make a motion to do that.
Second for a link.
Moved and seconded. I'm an aye. Jen?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
Russ?
Aye.
John?
I'm just abstaining because I had a hard time hearing.
Okay. No problem.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay.
Liz, did you have a comment on
Yeah,
that?
quick comment. I would like to, and maybe this is already happening, but a lot of, when you go on, say, the last thing I went on,
on the website?
Those are all
On the
updated
website,
last
Town of
week.
Brentwood. It's got the wrong people on the wrong board.
Oh, those have been updated?
Yes.
Karen said those have all been updated in the past week.
So all, not just, I mean, I happen to be looking at budget committee, but have they all been updated?
I believe so.
Okay, good, thank you.
Am I free to go?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Steph.
And do you want me to still do the timer or something?
Yeah,
1 minute, 2 minutes?
yeah,
One?
uno.
Okay. That way when it comes up, I can hit it.
Next budget is finance.
The 110 line is the treasurer's salary, so I built in a 5% COLA for 9 months. The 115 line is administrative assistant, and I've also put in, there was funds that were allocated to be paid out of the impact fee fund in '22 for bank reconciliation, so that's moving into the operating budget. And the other line items, the 130 line is training for trustees of the trust funds. There's no health insurance cost here. FICA Medicare is going up comparably with the salaries, and the audit expense is maintaining level funded for this year.
And Karen, if I remember correctly, by us outsourcing the bank reconciliation, we were able to eliminate an employee position.
Correct.
Correct, so paying $18,000 for that is really a significant savings to the
Correct.
town, because
Because
we're not paying a full employee with benefits.
Right, and it was a benefits eligible position.
But this is the first time it drops into the regular budget.
Yes.
Okay.
What budget was it in last time?
It was paid out of impact fees for the first calendar
Okay.
year.
So that's why it's going from 84,000 to 107, because we got $18,000 pumped into this.
Yes.
And then, a lot of towns pay a finance director at department head salary, so you're looking at we're spending 20 to save like 50.
Yeah.
So it's a wise investment.
Yeah, that was, I remember when we first talked about that, we all thought that was a great cost savings for the town.
So this is a new budget of $107,483, up from $84,016.
Yep.
Make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve 107,483 for finance.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion?
What's the total increase percent, do you know, on this budget?
I didn't calculate it out, but I do prepare that plus the change in dollars for the budget committee.
So the budget committee will have that?
Yes.
You can do it on the fly.
25, 28%, something like that.
But that's a huge increase just because of the 20,000.
Because of the
and
impact.
18,
But
right?
presumably this dropped significantly year prior,
Yes.
because we had another employee salary line in here that we took out. So I think if you went back a couple years, it would be a lot lower.
28 vote.
28%?
Here.
Any other questions? Motion is second. I'm an aye. Jen?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
Russ? Aye. John?
Aye.
Motion carries. Town administration?
This is budget salary based off of 5% COLA, 2.5% merit, and comparable taxes and New Hampshire retirement. Training and consulting fees is $1. I increased the dues and subscriptions by $1 to cover the fee to New Hampshire Municipal Association.
What's the total percent increase on the budget?
Looks like about 9.9%. This is in keeping with all other departments with our COLA decisions. I will make a motion to approve the 122,289.
Point of order, she said a 2.5% COLA, so a 2.5% rate, merit?
Yes.
The raise was 2%.
It was, the motion last week was 5% COLA, up to 2.5% merit.
And we still don't, but again, that's, some employees could get 1%, some could get
2.5.
2.5, so it
And
really
anywhere in
depends on where it
between.
comes in between there. We still have to budget for it.
So there's a motion on the table.
We have, I'm just doing the math real quick.
It's 9.9%.
Sorry about that. You talking to me?
Yeah, you can go. Hi.
Is that a second?
Hi, I'm John.
I think he seconded it. John, would you like to
John? I
second
don't know
the
what
We
motion?
weren't quite there yet, John, but do you have a question?
Second, I'll just second it, just to move it.
You guys cut out for like 10 seconds, so I didn't.
Second.
Okay.
He missed where we were.
Waiting.
I like the high.
All right, so there's a first by Jen, a second by Bob. Russ, did you have any questions? I see you're studying.
No, I don't have any questions.
The retirement is up. That's what I was just looking at. But
Yeah, because
Because of
if you
wages.
increase salary, you're gonna increase retirement because the pay in. So I have a motion and a second, no further questions. I'm an aye. Jen?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
Russ?
Aye.
John?
I already voted, man.
Gotta vote again. Vote early, vote often.
You didn't throw the health
Aye.
officer budget in there. I'm gonna throw that
No,
out.
that's coming.
If you want for a
I'm an aye.
Okay.
Can I ask a question though? On these budgets, have we, I know that the newsletter is in the general fund, is that right? Karen?
It's in the general government budget, yes.
Is that, where does that fall? Have we done that tonight?
No.
No.
No, we talked about that last week.
It's
That was
the
coming up
15th?
in a couple weeks, right?
Is it the 15th or 23rd?
I think it's,
Or 22nd, what is it?
I forget what date we
I don't
said.
have the schedule.
We talked about it last week.
20, it's either the 15th or 22nd. They're not here,
I'll
so.
grab it. I have it.
Okay, alright. Thanks.
That was all our budgets, right?
Yes. Well, we're just gonna answer John's question before we move on.
Okay.
I'm still willing to throw out the health officer's budget for a buck. Let's throw that in right now.
It's probably in a different agenda.
It probably is, but it's $1. So we'll just kill that stone right now.
It's the 22nd.
22nd?
22nd.
For the newsletter.
John, it's the 22nd.
Alright, thank you, I appreciate it.
You're welcome. All right. Russ, any committee updates?
Just thinking real quick, I don't think so. Nothing between now and last week.
Bob?
Concom's meeting tomorrow, but also the new
Energy.
environmental energy,
Yep.
is that it? Right?
Energy efficiency.
Energy efficiency is also meeting tomorrow, 6 o'clock, 6:30?
6:30, I believe.
So they're
6:30.
both meeting here tomorrow, so.
Yeah, there was an email about that, Karen, that was in our mail. I don't know if there was any intention of doing any modifications or just moving forward.
Yeah, it was a little late in the game yesterday.
Concom had to move at the last,
Yeah, I mean,
minute,
as
right?
I understand it, Concom, well, Bob would know, I guess, the
Yeah.
scheduling.
Yeah, so the Conservation Commission usually meets, I think it's
The second
the
Wednesday of the
second
month.
Wednesday, but they couldn't because, well, there's a bunch of people
Scheduling
traveling and I'm gone. So they moved it till tomorrow. And then the new committee is meeting tomorrow for the first time. And then some of the Conservation Commission want to be over there.
Yeah.
And then some of the people that are meeting on that board
Yeah.
want to meet at Conservation, so they're just gonna have to sort it out.
I think, yeah, I don't think we should delay the E&E meeting since it's their first one and they're all ready to go.
No.
Yeah. So
It's
that's,
just unfortunate
that's how that
schedule.
fell.
Snafu.
And they're both posted ahead of time, so.
Jen?
No, I have school board meeting next week, so I'll have updates after that. And
I
I
have-
do joint loss committee, as well. We had a recent meeting, but there's nothing major, just a few things still being worked on in town. We have a good plan in place for snow removal, for building safety, just some open items that are being worked out, but no major changes there. There is gonna be a proposal, for some fire deterrent systems at the new highway shed that I think also is gonna apply to the old highway shed. And I got the impression from Kip that that is going to come in front of the board at some point relatively soon to get formal approval for that. I think sort of preliminary approval had maybe already been given by the prior board,
For fire suppression.
but fire suppression
But it's
system.
on a heated building.
Use the heat detectors.
Oh,
So that's just to put that in
so it's
people's
not
ear.
suppression, it's,
Well, is
Yeah.
it detection?
Are they putting fire suppression in there or
No.
not? Because the building's
Detectors.
big enough.
Is it just
Heat
detector?
detectors.
Heat detectors?
Okay.
Well, it's a garage, so you wouldn't need
Right.
it.
So
If you're
that's
putting a car
gonna
in
be
there,
coming
you can
forward.
put those in there.
So just so people know, that's coming forward at some point in the near future.
Hardwire smokes, that's easy.
Yeah,
If they-
well,
If they require fire suppression, that's gonna be,
right, because it'd have to be a dry system or,
Yeah, I might have misspoke, I'm not, that's not my area,
yeah,
but.
if it's fire suppression, it's gonna be costly, just
I
because it's
didn't
not.
get
it's-
the man with the answers is in the audience.
Oh, look at that, he could,
It's not a fire suppression system.
Okay. It's
an
just
alarm
heat?
system,
Alarm.
basically. So we have the heats in the existing garage, and also, when I had a price, I had to do a panel large enough so we could utilize it in the new building when it came to fruition, which is pretty close.
Will that, and so that's all gonna be hardwired, are you putting burglar in there at the same time, or no? So they turn off an alarm if they go in there, or no?
I wasn't, but we can do whatever.
We're just doing truck storage, I don't think.
I can forward you the,
I just wanna know if somebody's going in, it gives you a record, kinda like what we have when they come to the town hall, if somebody types in their code, Karen can look it up, and that way if something happens over there. We still have cameras over there, that high,
Yep,
whatever it is.
we can look at a security
So
system.
Kip, are you bringing that forward at an upcoming meeting?
yes, I just gotta work out a little bit about, where we're doing the building in 2 stages.
Okay, so once it's done,
What we've got for power to make it work.
gotcha. Okay, thank you.
11/17, which is a Thursday, there is a groundbreaking ceremony at noon at the county for the new Sheriff's Department, Community Corrections, County Attorney's Office.
Oh, they're starting.
slash, anybody want to attend?
Sure.
I'm
I
not
mean,
good
I would
with
probably,
that.
yeah, I'm sure going, sure.
Has anyone seen a permit?
Haven't even seen the plans, have you?
Yes.
There was a really
You
great, the cover article in the newsletter this month was all about the building, which I thought was actually really helpful. And answered a lot of questions about what that building will be used for. We had previously inquired about the traffic changes, and that article reinforced what we had been told, which is that it's not anticipated to cause any significant traffic pattern change, so
How
we were
about
happy
septic design?
So,
about that.
Kip's joke is the county's exempt from
Oh, sure.
building code, so it's more of a tink than
No, I
a,
get it, I get it.
Actually,
It is what
I
it
don't
is.
believe that's true, but.
they think it is.
I know they think.
Separate issue.
Big septic design.
So Russ is in, anybody else wanna go? As long as we don't get a third, then we'll have to post a meeting.
Do we not, I mean, don't we only have to post a meeting if we are doing town business? If we're just there together representing, that's not
I
a
think when you
meeting per
represent,
se.
you become a,
Okay,
the way I read the statute, it's the 3 of us run into each other in Market Basket,
Yeah.
it's not a meeting. Or if we're hanging out at,
but if it's any
Bob's
official
house.
capacity,
but if it's like, we're going for a groundbreaking ceremony, then we are.
even if
official
there's no
capacity.
agenda.
Right,
Okay.
we're acting as
Okay.
Officials.
officials.
Sounds good.
And when there's 3 present, you can make a decision.
Sure.
Election day, Russ is gonna be limited to what he can do because he's on the ballot.
Yep.
Um,
We've already discussed with Daphne that Bob and John will be out of town, but myself and Andy and Russ will be there as a quorum. And she has already cleared it with the Secretary of State that there are no issues at all with that plan. Russ, just because he is on the ballot, can't be between the ropes where people are voting, can't stand by the vote count machine, and can't touch or count any ballots, which you already know. And so as long as that is followed, we should be absolutely fine with just the 3 of us there, as long as we can be there the whole day.
So, just clarify, there's only 3 of us in town, therefore I have to be there. And Jen just laid all that out, but, everyone there is going to be aware that I can't go inside the ropes, right?
Yep.
So basically, you're there to fulfill our statutory requirements. Should something happen and the select board needs to make a decision on how to fix it.
Right,
That's what your job role would be.
right.
So you don't even have to come in the building if you don't want.
I don't have to come in the building?
you only have to be there, that
If the
if
AG
something
comes by-
happens, we can make a decision
That's
on
true.
how to fix it.
Stand outside, hold your signs.
Yeah, see, that, yeah.
It's up to you.
The AG's office usually comes by and does audits,
Right,
and we just have to make sure we have a quorum there at all
Yeah.
times.
Yeah.
So,
So
we aren't-
luckily we've got
We
the
aren't
three.
sneaking a third in the back door, making burgers.
And just to
Please.
clarify, we are not gonna have a meeting at all. The last election, we had a short meeting in
This
the
is just
basement.
may have signed the manifest, right?
We're
That's
not,
up to you. Last time I posted a meeting at 4, but we didn't have agenda items. You just signed the manifest and the
Right.
consent agenda, and that was all.
are we gonna do it that way again? Just a quick 10
totally up to
minute.
us.
I make a-
Well, since everybody's out of
You won't be
town,
there.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I'd make a
we
motion
might
to
as
do
well
the
just
manifest.
not have a meeting.
Just, at some point, we can all just sign.
Yes.
Okay, so officially no meeting. Perfect, thank you.
Everybody got that? No meeting next week. All right, no documents, and there's a question on, all right, so the library has a presentation. Janice, how long is your presentation?
10-15 minutes?
Everybody up to 10 or 15-minute presentation?
Yeah.
John, are you still with us?
Is this the presentation that
I am, but I'm not the driver in a minute.
All right, so the library wants to make a presentation about employee issues and salary, how do we wanna word this?
Well,
It's not on there.
Well, we can ask what it's relative to make sure if it goes into non-public. If it has something to do with salaries, I don't think it should go into non-public, I think it should be public.
So that's what I was trying to get to take a vote. Janice,
Yeah.
come on down.
Andy, back to a little question about, Kip mentioned a new building, what building was he talking about?
The
Uh,
highway shed.
We built a shed, basically for the highway department to be able to store their vehicles in.
Oh, we're still talking about.
We're still working on that.
Okay.
We've put money away for that for years,
Yeah.
and we finally got a contractor that wanted to build it for us, so.
It's
If you
cold
drive by,
storage.
you can see a big building sitting out back.
It's all cold storage, so there's no heat or office or anything in it.
I just have one question.
Go for it.
I know that the library presentation is under the non-public session, but I attended that trustee meeting where the presentation was done and I was a member of the public. So why is this non-public now?
Because it's not non-public yet. We haven't made that decision yet.
Okay, but I was there as a member of the public observing in that session.
Thank you. So Janice, can you just do a quick synopsis of why you're requesting a non-public and,
Because we're gonna be talking about wage adjustments and, essentially the status of where we're at and what we need going forward. This is just informative and, information seeking so that I can then work on the budget, which will then be public.
do you name any employee by
Yes.
performance-wise?
Not necessarily performance-wise.
So this is just dollar values for specific employees. And to me, that's gonna be public
Public.
because
So-
their salaries are public.
It does fall under non-public, but we have the right to do, that was my first email to Karen, was this fall into non-public, and I got, you ask this every time. Yes.
Can I ask a question which may help clarify? When we did the market adjustments for all positions in town, were all of those discussions and all of that data shared in public?
The initial conversation was had in non-public because we did dive into some performance, and then it was ultimately shared with the public.
Because
yes.
this is basically a market adjustment discussion, right?
This is not
Right.
performance
So it
related.
seems that we should follow whatever we did before, but if it was only done in non-public before because of performance-related issues, and there's not performance-related issues here, then I would be in favor of it being in public, because I don't think there's anything non-public
I'm not-
about needing to adjust our market.
I'm okay with
Okay.
it either way, honestly.
And if it's already been a public discussion, I don't see why,
Right.
so,
As long as you're okay with that.
Oh, yeah.
And we probably,
I have nothing else.
this presentation, can you send it over to Karen? Because if it's in public, we probably should put it
On the web?
on the web.
In a minute?
Because people watching on the thing aren't gonna be able to see it.
Check.
And chairs.
And take potatoes
Huh?
and a bookcase.
All right,
All right,
so did that answer your,
thank you all for your patience with me.
good night, John.
All right, John.
John Boyd.
What country's in today?
Good night, John.
What country's in right now?
Good night, John Boy.
Chicago.
Oh,
So, actually,
it's
that's,
a different country.
yeah, it's a war zone in itself.
Chicago's got its own issues.
And I apologize, this is your third time running it.
Oh, yeah.
And Karen's second. Do you want me to use this,
Are
or
you
should
gonna
I?
put it here or here?
You don't have to use it, right? Does she have to
I
use it?
really don't have to.
You don't have to.
this.
You don't have to if you have
Just the same as-
PowerPoint.
Slides, right?
All right.
Feel free to use it, it's fine.
Okay.
You can just send the PowerPoint over and we can upload it or make it available on your website and we can just direct people.
And then any motions.
All right. So I'll just tell you when to, basically when to do it. So I'm here.
Hold on
oh,
one
sorry.
second, I think I might have just shut the Zoom, the
YouTube?
Recording.
YouTube off, so
Oh,
let me make sure I didn't ruin something.
I don't like the updates they did.
Yeah,
They seem not as user friendly.
alright, we're good,
We're still live?
we're good.
Okay.
Good note, you can close your browser and stay live. Also note that if you wanna go into non-public, don't just close your browser, because you're still live.
Learning point across the board.
Floor's yours.
all right. Just can I put the glasses on?
Switch your glasses.
You wanna just use this? 'Cause I
No,
can
it's all
just
right. If
peek
you're
right in
following
here.
along, I can,
I know,
because I have this.
I didn't memorize.
You probably do. All right, so, thank you for meeting with me. I know this has been a long night, and I'll keep it as brief as I can. I'm here to present a report prepared proactively by a local Brentwood patron, Laura, who wants to ensure the ongoing support and future growth of the library and the important benefits it offers to the entire community. How this came about, well, first of all, she has over 25 years of experience in data analytics and an MBA in marketing from Fordham University in New York City. So she certainly has the skills to have helped put this together, but we did work together. And it all came about because earlier this year, Laura approached me with questions regarding the library's staff salaries. She told me that she had recently observed quite a few advertising bits for help wanted in Brentwood and then also like in Epping and other nearby towns with salaries starting at $15 to $20 per hour, and ours were not. I have an adult library assistant making just under, well, 12 something, so it's under $13 an hour, plus other situations. But when I shared my staff salaries with her, she volunteered to research and develop a report comparing the Brentwood Library's wages and resources used with residents with a competitive set of towns, as well as local hourly wages in nearby Epping. We worked collaboratively to generate this report, which reflects the results of our analysis. I'm going to stop for 1 minute and just say, when we did the wage adjustment, that was last year, the library was not included in that. So this is kind of to catch us up.
So the
You don't
market.
have to talk into it, I
Oh,
just,
okay. So the market adjustments that were done for town offices and other departments did not cover the library positions?
Correct. Right. So the data sources include the most recent information available from the Complete Library Statistics Report, which is a state reporting system that all librarians send their information to. The Rockingham County Occupational Employment and Wages website, the Indeed website, which reports salaries in various industries and towns, our Atrium statistics reports, which are how we run the library, are basically our system, and the Brentwood Town Administrator budget report. So she pulled from a lot of different sources, and all of those resources, except for Atrium, are available online to the general public. And so if anybody wants any of that information or information gleaned from Atrium, I can provide that. I just don't have it. It's not readily available to the public. Laura also prepared an Excel multi-tabbed report to accompany the PowerPoint presentation, which I didn't send over. It's very, very detailed, but it does back up all the information you see. So if there's any questions on anything, I'm happy to provide that to you as well. In order to keep it to a reasonable timeline, I just ask that you let me get through this, and then we can do questions at the end if that's okay. All right, so if you go to the second slide, the goal this evening is to present our report findings in support of an increase in wages for the library assistant director and the library assistants, 2 of them, as well as additional hours for the assistants. The reason the 3rd library assistant is not included is because she's limited to the number of hours she can work in the library, and so she's not part of this. The next section, the report has 2 sections. The first section compares the library assistant director's hourly wages with similarly sized Rockingham County towns, and the second section compares the library assistant's hourly wages with a local nearby town hourly wages. For those of you who were at that original meeting, do know that when we did this originally for the trustees, it was with 2020 data. That was the most recent we had. In the meantime, 2021 was released, so we updated the information, so it is slightly different than what you might have seen prior if you were at that meeting. And then we also took Kingston out because with the new 2021 report status, they no longer have a library assistant director, and I don't know if that's because they just haven't found one or if they're not using one. So flipping to the next slide.
Which slide are you on?
Slide 4. They are numbered on the bottom right, kind of faint, but it's a pie chart.
Yep.
So before assessing the relative wages of the library staff, we wanted to recognize that the library budget actually accounts for a very small fraction of the Brentwood annual budget. As you can see from the pie chart, the library expense accounts for only 2% of the entire $10.5 million Brentwood annual operating budget. So we're talking 2%. Therefore, in our opinion, considering all that the library offers the community throughout the year in terms of an extensive array of programs and resources, including an excellent, highly credentialed staff, a minor boost in employee wages and hours should be quite easy to justify. And another thing to keep in mind is a library is the perfect place during times of tight money when inflation is high, because we have items that you can borrow. You don't have to go out and buy them yourself. So flipping to the next, well, actually don't flip, it's just the bottom slide, number 5. This slide compares the tax rates for the competitive set of towns in this report. And you can see this was a request from the budget committee to find out what our tax rate was compared to other towns. The municipal tax rate of $3.77 is less than other comparably sized towns. We're pretty much towards the bottom of that number. So flipping to the next page. This slide shows how comparing a range of recent years, meaning 2018 to 2022, the U.S. inflation rate grew 18%. The Northeast region rose 15%, and the library's total operating budget increased 8% from 2018 to 2022. And during that same period, employee compensation fell 2%. So we are actually going into this year less 2% over that time period.
How did compensation fall over time? Were people replaced with a lower salary?
Yeah, we
worker?
actually lost, we dropped an employee, well, we dropped a position when an employee left. And it happened around COVID, so we decided we could make do with that, without that person. Except, as you'll see later on, our numbers are fast approaching pre-COVID, and so we're finding we need the help again. So that's what part of this is. Slide number 7. This slide shows that the Brentwood Library Assistant Director earned $20.76 per hour, which is less than the Rockingham County Library starting wage for this position of $22.38. Note further that the Brentwood Assistant Director is earning significantly less than the median wage of $30 per hour in Rockingham County in 2021. On slide 8, in addition, when we examined the salaries for comparably sized towns in New Hampshire, we found that the Brentwood Assistant Director was at the lower end of the salary range. At the same time, however, she has a similar job compared to some of the libraries which have several employees sharing similar responsibilities. And you'll see, I think it's Colby has 3 employees listed under that, under what she does, and then Rye has 4. So she's doing the job of multiple people in some of these bigger towns. Furthermore, note that the current Brentwood Assistant Director has a master's degree, but is earning comparable wages to those who have not attained the same degree of education. All right, next slide. We next compared the total program attendance and collection usage among these same set of towns and found the following. And just a little background, programs include civic presentations, children's story times, how-to programs, and much, much more. I just invite you to look at our website and our newsletter if you're ever wondering what it is we do. We also compared total collection usage, which refers to all the media resources that we provide to the community. And everybody knows we provide books. Many people know we provide DVDs. But there are some other things, including electronic resources and free Wi-Fi, which is on 24/7. So if you're in the parking lot, you can access Wi-Fi. And that's good for people who don't have Wi-Fi at home and need to have a connection. They can just come to the library park and use it, or come in if we're open. We did these same comparisons with the same set of towns from the prior slide and found the following. This slide shows that Brentwood's total program attendance was greater than some of the towns with multiple staff and/or towns paying higher wages. So we're getting paid less, we're doing more. So slide number 10. Similarly, this slide shows Brentwood's total collection usage on par with towns that employ multiple staff and towns paying higher wages, such as Rye and Greenland. Another very important aspect of this evaluation is the need to have a competitive advantage over neighboring libraries, and we talked about that a little bit earlier. We have excluded data from larger cities such as Portsmouth, Nashua, and Manchester to keep the competitive list of comparably sized towns provided in the analysis. However, keep in mind that even though these large cities, even though we didn't use them, they are offering significantly higher salaries, and they are close enough for any Brentwood employee to leave our library and easily go to work elsewhere to earn a higher salary, and they are qualified. This would mean a huge loss for the library in terms of skills and talent we currently have in Brentwood. Slide number 11. I want to shift from talking about the library director to now the library assistants. And this addresses the proposal to increase the hours as well as wages of the library assistants. A little bit of background on this. This is the point where we're looking at hiring back that position that we dropped. However, we compared 2 different ways of doing this. One was to hire from outside a brand new person at 18 hours. The other was to give additional hours to the 2 assistants that can have additional hours and increase their salaries to ensure job satisfaction and and all of that. Well, let me go back to this. This slide shows that Indeed.com revealed that Brentwood's highly experienced, college-educated library assistants earn hourly wages less than or similar to those working in jobs including fast food cooks, grocery store cashiers, and chain store customer service workers in Epping, a number of whom are teenagers and/or those who haven't graduated from high school yet. And some of those teenagers are as young as 14, making more than my library assistants are. Slide number 13. Prior to reviewing the findings presented in this slide, I want to point out that as COVID restrictions have relaxed, we are now in the position of requiring more staffing hours in line with pre-pandemic levels, and I discussed that a little bit. To evaluate how to address the additional post-pandemic workload, this chart compares the cost of hiring a new part-time employee versus adding 18 more hours to the current library assistant weekly schedule. That would mean 9 per librarian. The added costs are projected to be under $3,000, in addition to the salary of that additional person. So it's like approximately $15,000, which is about $3,000 more than if we hire from outside. To us, that $3,000 savings is more than warranted to keep our staff and our team together and doing the good work that we do.
And Janice, do both of those employees, are they interested in increasing hours?
They are.
Okay, great.
This increased cost will be more than offset by the $24,000 annual savings achieved by having myself and my assistant director on our husband's health insurance plans. So we save the town each year approximately $24,000 by not using the insurance. That doesn't mean it's not available. It doesn't mean it's not in the budget in case we need it, but we haven't needed it. And so I think I used it for 1 month in the 5 years I've worked here. Keep in mind that if either of us were to leave, the savings would not be guaranteed in the future. If I hire from, if the trustees hire with outside, thank you. If they hire outside the library, bringing somebody in, they may very well be paying insurance for those new employees. So if we go to slide 14, I wanted to share a little feedback that we've received in terms of testimonials. These are on our website. There are lots more than this, and I'm not going to go through them today. I'm just going to give you a couple of keywords and phrases that we think are very important. One of them is, the MEB has been an important part of our lives. Another person said, the library provides a vital service to the community. And the MEB library is fantastic for kids and adults alike. That's just a smattering of the kinds of things that we hear on a regular basis. So slide 15, recently Laura, who is the one who did this presentation, and her husband Bob were visiting the library and witnessed the following event. There was a young boy being carried by his mom towards the door, screaming, "I don't want to leave," right after a story time had ended. And again, that's something we hear a lot. Please go to slide 18. Again, there's a lot on this page. That's why I'm giving you these reports so you can look at them at your leisure. But this shows various services the library provides for residents throughout the year. And I just want to briefly touch on 5 of them. The first one is staffing. So running any good library starts with the staff, and we have put together an excellent team. Our patrons tell us all the time that they're amazed at the teamwork and the camaraderie that we have in serving our community. Each employee is caring and friendly with extensive experience in teaching, math and child development, and customer service. When a patron walks through the front door, my staff makes sure they feel welcome, and they offer any guidance requested, which covers a whole gamut of resources. Again, that's books, DVDs, and magazines, free Wi-Fi, civic events, digital offerings, a quiet reading space, activities, upcoming programs, you name it, we do it. And as there is more need or something comes up, we add on to that list of things that we do. We're always trying to be as current and even, I will say, even trendy as possible. Number 2 is professional development. Not only does our staff have that kind of training background, but they're also required, they're required to participate in further trainings. We do this in terms of conferences, classes, and webinars to build up their skills to serve the community. One thing that we have recently done during COVID, and we're going to continue it because I think it's a really great use of our time and money, is during our staff meetings, which are once per month. Each employee is asked to take a webinar or a class or some sort of professional development piece, and then they present it to the whole staff. So everybody gets the benefit of the knowledge without everyone having to take the class and use that kind of time. We're always looking for those ways to save. Number 3 is marketing. In order to make everybody aware of what we do, we have to market, and marketing is a big part of what we do. Some libraries actually have marketing people who are dedicated to nothing else but marketing for the library. For us, it's the library director, myself, the library director who's myself, the assistant director who is Kiki, and then our assistants all help with the marketing. And we dedicate a considerable amount of time to posting to various social media outlets. We arrange for school visits. Sometimes the school comes to us, sometimes we go to the school. And we make submissions to newsletters, and our library website is updated on a regular basis. So all of that is timely. Number 4 are programs. Educational and social programs are available for all ages. Examples include the recent adult-oriented presentation on rising electrical costs and the weekly storytime program for children, but there are many, many more. I'm actually looking into something that will be good for the working class age group in our community as well, and I'll have more on that later on. Number 5 is resources. We provide a multitude of resources that would cost taxpayers a lot more money if they had to go out and purchase them on their own. For every book that we purchase for the library, X amount of people benefit from that title, as opposed to each of you having to go to Amazon or Barnes & Noble or somewhere else to get that title. So the savings that we can offer are tremendous. If you flip to slide 19, we want you to be aware of the library's ongoing efforts to control its costs where possible via impact fees. We use those when we can. We use funds raised by the Friends of the Library Committee for things that we can't add into our budget, and we apply for grants. So these are some ways that we try to supplement the part that the taxpayers are paying. Slide 20. The key takeaways that you need to be aware of from this list of bullet points are the following. It took a full year to find a director, and during this time the job had to be reposted 4 times. Last year, the library lost one award-winning employee who left to go to a teaching job so that she could work 1 job instead of 3 to support her family. What's more, in recent months, we've been seeing a steady uptick in new patrons, coupled with a significant rebound in the demand for items in circulation. We've been doing an extraordinary number of new patrons. As a matter of fact, we are at pre-pandemic levels in terms of who's coming in for new cards. A lot of it is the new 55 and older, but we also, we question anybody that comes in for a new card in a good way. We ask them, we just simply ask them, are you new to Brentwood or are you new to the library? And then if they're new to Brentwood, we welcome them to the town. We tell them about some of the town resources, including the library. If they're just new to the library, we welcome to the library and ask them for ways in which we can help them. So the final slide, or slide 21, I'd like to remind everyone that Brentwood has no central downtown. Consequently, the library has been called the living room of the community. And in my mind, there's no doubt that the library as a resource is invaluable. At this point, I hope it's clear that why we are asking for an increase in salaries and increased hours and wages for the library assistants, because ultimately, everyone in this community benefits from having a happy, healthy, I wouldn't even say happy, a healthy staff that wants to come to work and wants to serve the town of Brentwood, because that is indeed what we do. So thank you for your time. I would love to open it up to questions if anybody has any.
I have a couple of questions.
Yes.
The hour increase that you're hoping to do, does it match pre-pandemic hours, or is it higher or lower than pre-pandemic hours? Like, is it basically just get you back to where you were, or does it change?
No, it's actually to get us to a competitive wage with other surrounding areas.
No, I'm talking about the hours.
Oh, the hours.
Like a increase in hours.
Yes, it's to get us back to
it goes
pre-pandemic.
back to where we were, so it's
Yeah.
not really adding something, it's just replacing a COVID change.
Yes.
Okay. The other question I have for you is for the assistant director. There, you have a lot of data here about how the assistant director position compares in other towns. Was there similar data for the assistants?
That was harder to do because assistants, there can be, some libraries have 20, some libraries have 2. It's really hard, and then each one is at their own salary. Even within our own library assistants, they all make different salaries. They're not the same. So I have to kind of average them out. And I have looked at the data on averages in other communities, but that's kind of how we had to do it. So it's not one-to-one, it's not apples and apples. It is a little bit of apples to oranges, the best that we could do. But But given that, I think it's a pretty good matchup.
And when you, I think we can kind of draw some inferences from your budget about what kind of salary bump you might request for the assistant director. What is kind of your ballpark thinking for the assistants? If they're in the 13-ish range, where were you looking for budgeting purposes to get to?
I'm still working on that. I started looking at it. I was trying to keep it within the 5% COLA and then merit. I may need to do a little bit of adjusting though, because that's still not gonna get them where they are, so.
Well, I mean, if this is a true market analysis wage adjustment, that's completely separate
Right.
from COLA, et cetera. Like, we just approved a 17% bump for somebody, of which
Right.
7 of that was COLA and 10 was a market adjustment.
Right.
So to me, they're separate things. I have to say that I was surprised that we have adult college-educated workers in our town getting paid less than $15 an hour. And I had actually sent an email to Karen asking if we had any employees in town who got paid less than $15 an hour, and you had said no, but I
thought
bet.
they were all high school aged.
Oh, okay. So to me, I don't see why we would just have a small handful of workers getting paid below $15 an hour where every other single employee in the entire town is paid higher than that. That doesn't make a lot of sense.
So just for clarity on that, one of the things is that the library employees are not considered town employees.
Right, I
technically.
understand, yeah.
So, I mean, we sort of are, but we aren't. So we've kind of always done things almost on our own, but not really. Karen and I work together all the time to try to get.
I mean, you
this
have your
going.
own board, right? So you have your
Yes.
own budgetary process, but
Correct.
the money comes from the taxpayers.
Correct.
So in
Yes.
terms of, salary impact on taxpayers, it's just like someone who works in
Right.
this building.
And we've tried to be very conservative over the years, I think in the past, and still, we're not asking, I don't think we're overreaching here. I think we're just trying to bring people to a livable wage, so I don't, necessarily lose people. Now, given that, I will say, no amount of money is a guarantee that anybody's gonna stay. But if I can give them a livable wage and, included with that, the respect and the value of saying you're worth something to us, then job satisfaction is gonna go up, and I'm very likely. I am one of the few libraries that actually did not lose anybody during the pandemic, with the exception of Heather, and that was strictly monetary, had nothing to do with how we were running things, where I know libraries in the area that have actually lost almost, some of them 2, 3, 4 employees. So job satisfaction is really important to me. It's something I always work hard at, but it can only go so far. If they can't pay their bills, I can be as nice and kind to them as I wanna be, it's not gonna make a difference. So, yeah.
7.5% on $13 is 97.5 cents, so it's not even to 14, so
Right.
you're probably gonna have to do a market adjustment.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. And actually, what's not in here is our pages. Our pages get paid $9.50 an hour. The new ones the substitutes that we've hired recently are getting 10, and I wanna bring my pages up to 10. Again, it's still way below
That's
limited
the
wage. They
high
get
schoolers
the
mostly.
high schoolers. And they're very minimal hours too. I mean, the impact is peanuts when you think about how many hours they work. But they work really hard, and they take on a lot of responsibility in the library.
But I don't know even if that's a $10 an hour job. That may be more in the current $13 an hour job, and your $13 an hour people may be.
What's like Market Basket entry level for like a 14, 15-year-old? It's
It
like
says
a
in here.
$12.50.
$12.50? Yeah, so it seems like maybe that needs a bump too.
Yeah.
Say that.
The thing is that we were focused on these 3 positions because we didn't want to overwhelm the situation. What has happened is, as I look at doing a wage adjustment for the library, the assistant director, it's actually going to put her at a higher wage than me. So I don't know, I still have to talk to the trustees about how that's all going to work.
You need to do a market analysis for a director.
Yeah, we
Why
were
wasn't
gonna
that
do
in
that,
there?
we were gonna do that next year. We were trying to ease into this so that we weren't coming to the town with this great big huge number. But that being said, again, I have to go back to the board and see. So I have a budget pretty well laid out, based on the conversations we have tonight and the one I had with the BudCom. I'll go back, do some adjusting, and then be able to come back when I do my actual formal budget with all of those adjustments.
Preliminary, what do you think you're coming in at for an increase in your overall budget?
Right now, and this is a little bit low, we're at like 12.8% overall. I kept my operating budget very low. It's up 1.5%, I think, and that's all electricity.
You can't, it's not really comparable though if you're changing your hours, right? Because you're not.
Right, because we're
You're
essentially
comparing-
adding a person
Right.
at that 12.8, so it's not the same
Right.
as what we're doing right now.
It seems to me, I mean, I know there's people in this town who get sticker shock anytime we're gonna increase anybody's raises, as you can see by earlier tonight.
Right.
But to me, my understanding is the prior board approved this for almost all other positions in town, and the library wasn't part of that, and so this is sort of your turn
Right.
to do it. It seems to me kind of a no-brainer that we would support some kind of increases, and then the nitty-gritty would be left up to your budgeting process and the, you know, board discussion and BudCom discussion. But to me, at least, it seems kind of like a no-brainer that some of these need to go up.
Okay, thank you.
I don't know if other board members feel differently.
A lot of it has to go through the library trustee.
Right. And you made this presentation to the library trustees?
Mhm.
What was their response from that group?
At that point, I hadn't had the budget numbers figured out, so it didn't, I should have probably figured it out, but I hadn't at that point.
So you still have to go
Actually,
back and have another meeting with them?
Yes.
Was there general support from that board to do
Yeah,
some
actually,
market adjustments?
Liz, my chair, is here, so she can answer that
So,
question.
yeah, so we were all very positive about it, and at the time, there was actually a BudCom member there as a member of the public, but she was very much in support of this presentation and the data that went into it to warrant us to look at changes in our structure, so.
Okay.
So I will go back to them. Our next meeting is the second Monday in November. Between what I've done here, what I did with the BudCom, and then our trustees meeting, I will have a final product. But
And
this
I-
was just sort of to get the conversation going, rather than coming into a budget meeting with no background. That would have been sticker shock to be,
Sure.
it would have been crazy, so.
I think the one thing, if I recall correctly, Janice, when we talked about that too, if we increase the number of hours for those two employees, then they will qualify for benefits, not health benefits, but they will qualify for paid time off.
Thank you for
Is that
saying
right?
that.
So that is
Yes.
something that they will get too, which I think would be something for them, again, if we want to encourage them to have satisfaction in their job and feel like they're being rewarded, then those paid time offs, that
Oh, I
would
see.
help as well.
And that's what it is. It's earned, they would be considered regular part-time employees versus just part-time employees. Regular part-time employees get earned time at a percentage. It's not the same earned time as a full-timer, but, and then they get holiday pay. And that's something they don't get now. So if they work on a holiday, if they normally work, say on a Monday, and it's a holiday, they don't get paid. So this would allow them to get that holiday pay. So it's not just the money, there's other parts of it.
Do they go to the New Hampshire retirement?
No, they're not eligible. And that's a library-specific benefit. I think it's at 24 hours that they become eligible for
20
earned time.
hours.
20 hours, whereas you have to work 32 hours before you would get that same benefit on the town
And
side.
is that statutory?
It's just two separate governing bodies.
Yeah, it's just in our handbook, it's the way that the
Okay.
trustees have patterned it.
Okay.
And we've never had anybody in that position as far as, since I've been there, and I don't even believe before me that we have. It's either been full-time or it's part-time. We've never had that middle
Seems to me to make more sense to have a smaller number of people there more often and then offer them those benefits as opposed to just numerically more people that you're paying a lower, non-incentivized wage to.
There's a lot more continuity too, because if I have somebody coming in for 4 hours and another person comes in for 4 hours, we're having to go over the same information. If I have one person stay for 8 hours, then, they can be briefed in the morning and then know everything that's gonna happen, like say with a program that night. So there's continuity issues there as well.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Any audience questions for?
I just have a couple, only because I haven't been to the library for a while. So I've been.
I welcome you.
So, yes, so we've lived here for 14
Julie,
years,
just-
and when my kids were little, we were always at the library.
Julie, can I interrupt you?
I'm
Just-
sorry, Julie Levis, 62 Brentwood. And I've always loved the library. It was always a great place for my kids to be able to just kind of maneuver throughout as they grew up. Obviously, COVID hit and everything shut down. So the questions I have, and I was writing as you were talking. One, how did you find this analyst person? Like, where?
She came to me.
Oh, she came to you,
She came
okay.
to me. She had lived in the Maryland area, had moved to Brentwood, actually specifically because they had come up and observed the library.
Okay.
And she loved the library, and so they moved here for that reason.
Okay.
And she has said on numerous occasions, she can't believe what we do in this small town compared to what she has seen. And she also goes overseas a lot, so she's seen a lot of libraries and is extremely impressed. And that was her thing, was she was afraid that we were gonna lose people, and she doesn't wanna see that. She thinks.
Can I just interrupt a second? Whoever's phone's blown up, can we put it on vibrate, please? Somebody's dinging like crazy out there.
I have no idea. The other question is, do you have statistics on, because I drive by the library fairly often, and I can see a difference from when, before COVID, like years before COVID, the parking lot was always packed, tons of people were in there. I drive by a lot in this area, I don't see that even now, not even thinking of COVID at all. So do you have statistics that show how many people are entering that doorway? I don't know if you have a tracker, and how many online books people are accumulating and not going to the library. What is that difference? Because it's one of those things where you do have to look at that as well, because I understand, I think you might be counting the online books, but how many people are entering that building? I know there's the kids programs, I've seen some of the other programs that have been brought up to the library, so making it make sense money-wise against who's actually coming into the building, it kind of needs to come together in order for, I believe, taxpayers to go, hey, yeah, absolutely, across the board. Now, I will say, that is very low for some of those employees to be making that. It's clear, look at all the places around here and what they're giving kids. But that's where I feel like it needs to just kind of make sense, is like, if you have that statistic so that people can actually see that, hey, listen, we have 5,000 people in our town now, you know, a handful of like 20 to 30 new enrollments, you know, that's wonderful, but how many people have just not come into the building against, hey, you know what, I just want to rent something online? And
I can answer all of that. So every month I do a director's report, which goes to my trustees. It gives all of that data. So it gives the number of people that have been in the building, number of people that have gone to programs, the number of books that were checked out, all of that information. The library, like any other public building, has its ebbs and flows. There's days when we're very quiet, I will admit that. There are days when we can't keep up. There's also a lot of background or things that have to happen in the background that you would not necessarily understand or know without me talking about it. One of those things is the marketing. In order to get people in there, we have to let people know what we have. But there's preparation, there's you know, I do a ton of emails, you know, and then preparation for the program. So there is a lot of layers. We have two boards we work with. We have the trustees, and then we work with the Friends of the Library. That all takes preparation and time. You know, the number of employees we have is not considered outrageous compared to
how
other.
many do you guys have?
We have 7.
Oh, 7, okay, yeah.
And 2 of those are teens.
Okay.
So we have 2 full-time, 3 assistants, and 2 pages. And, you know, I don't want to put Andy on the spot, but he lives right next door. I know he has seen the numbers coming in and out. You know, we're an open book. All of our information is out there. We don't hide anything. We have no desire to, nor do we need to.
Do you guys post the statistics on your website? I actually haven't looked.
Yep, so if you look at our website, if you go to the About Us page, there's a trustee tab. Under that is the trustees' minutes, and in the minutes, there's a recap of my director's report.
Okay, perfect,
So,
yep,
yeah.
okay, good.
And anything you ever want, just call me, email me,
Okay.
come in.
Sure.
I am, like I said, an absolute open book, and there's a lot of people in here that can attest to that. Absolutely, yeah.
And I think Julie just publicly acknowledged that she's stalking me. She's in the area a lot.
She was doing beer for bucks, she was throwing dollars at you.
But now that she said it, I know what house you are now.
She thought you were doing the Magic Mike show.
I did just I was looking at the town history book that a patron had come in, was looking for some information. We were looking at it, and it talked about the summer reading program prior to when I came on. And it said there were, and I'm terrible with numbers, but I want to say it was 30 to 50 kids participating per year. This last year, we had 120. So we've really up to those numbers. And that's not just kids, it's adults too, but there are people actively participating in that program. And of that, and again, I apologize, but numbers, I have to write them down, I'm not good at remembering them. But a considerably large percentage of those people actually completed the program. So it wasn't just that they signed up and then didn't come. And that's something I look at a lot. I was just at a meeting, a conference in Manchester, and we were talking about bringing in new patrons. What's that?
We're just gonna start throwing things at you.
Oh, I'm almost done.
You told me 15 minutes, and that was an hour ago.
Well, that was for my presentation, not questions. Not questions. Anyway, just real quick. One of the things that now I forgot what I was going to say. What was I saying?
You were talking about the summer program.
The conference.
The
Yep.
conference in Manchester.
Yep. And I don't remember.
Perfect.
So, okay, I'm done.
Any other question?
For Janice or just in general?
Just Janice.
Oh, may I just ask a question of Liz? There's also going to be some presentation or one thing about in addition to the library or the amphitheater or whatever. Is that going to happen this year as well?
We hope to, yes, we hope to.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. And thanks for your extended time. We did a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah, we added some things based on what the BudCom was asking for. We listened to you guys.
Russ, do you have anything?
For Janice or generally?
In general.
Yeah, I'm frustrated with the dynamic earlier tonight. I don't want to see that repeated, where we have people sitting behind Karen and Tamara, and towards the end, we had people yelling in their ears. So I think what's additionally frustrating is that I didn't look at the social media stuff that was referenced multiple times, but I know this, we have people in this town who are serving on boards and commissions currently, or have in the recent past, who are allowing stuff to get so heated that people come in here uninformed, and like this letter, which was written by someone who serves on at least one board in town. Apparently the select board had planned, incorrect, blatant falsity. And the next time we have a crowd like that, I wanna just hold off. I wanna get some order to this. We'll rearrange the room.
Crowd that size, the only thing we can do is move to the rec center.
Yeah,
Which
I'm just not
which would
doing,
take an
I'm
hour.
not doing that again. I apologize, Karen and Tamara, frankly, because I feel like when it started, we should have probably reassessed the whole setup here. But people coming in here raising their voices, muttering under their voices, just being rude in general. It's not what this town is about, and it's not what it should be about. And when it starts on social media, 90% of the time, that's what happens. We get people in here who don't have the facts, and they quickly go out of, are basically out of line in raising their voices. And I don't want to see it anymore. It's disrespectful to each other, and it's certainly, there's no place for it. So, I just wanted to get that off my chest, thanks.
Agreed.
Thank you.
Bob?
I'm ready to adjourn, that's me.
No. Jen?
I agree. I just think it's unfortunate stuff like this happens when we're here. We're the governing body of the town, and I think that the idea that when we propose something like a raise for our employees, that we have to propose it and then make sure the public is okay with it and then vote on it at a future meeting makes no sense to me. That's not how we do our business here. We give raises to our employees every year when they need them, and we decide it. And I really just think that these meetings are our meetings and the public is our invited guest. And I agree, I think that there should be an expectation of basic kindness and decorum and not yelling at our town employees at these meetings. I agree with you, Russ. Thanks for saying that.
Yes,
Now I'll go to-
thank you.
Public comment. Letty?
I am. I agree. I was disappointed to see the rallying of the troops here to give the select board grief, when in fact the select board is voted on in our town, and they were voted to be in that position. So even though there were more people rallied to be negative and to be somewhat aggressive, as Russ says, toward the select board, that doesn't mean that the select board members that were elected are not appreciated by the people in town, because in fact they were voted into the position.
Letty first and then.
It has nothing to do with anything you talked about, which is amazing. Would it be possible to get the?
Are you speaking as a private citizen?
I was waiting for that. I'm like, wait a minute, she hasn't given us the
You
spiel.
did give her spiel, sorry. Sorry, Middle Road, speaking as a private citizen, not on behalf of any board that I'm on. Sorry, got distracted. Would it be possible to have the consent agenda attached to the minutes of the meeting it's approved at? That we know.
I think it is, right? It doesn't,
It's not, but it can be, I mean, portions of it would need to be redacted before they can be published.
because there's like non-public minutes in it.
Right, so the non-public minutes I don't include, I just list it, but,
Right.
items like,
Building permits.
vet credits,
Rec.
elderly exemptions, those
But
are not public
don't we,
information.
oh, okay. But things like building permits, the
Oh, yeah.
finance, all of that's already in
That
the
would be okay.
minutes.
Mhm.
Yeah. One thing I've thought about that we could do is before passing the consent agenda, we could just list what's in it, which might be helpful for the public, because usually it's the same stuff every week. It's the building permits, it's like, just rubber stamp, rec check, like stuff like that. But it might make sense just for somebody to, as we make a motion, to say, here's what's in it this week, pass it. 'cause
Then
I
it'd be
think-
part of the minutes.
Or put that in the minutes, that this.
Well, no, by what you're saying, would put it in the minutes.
Right, so that would, I think that's a good suggestion. It's meant to be completely a non-controversial, routine board business. So if there was something in there that any of the board members felt was not routine, that one of our standing items is to pull it out of consent. But I actually think that's a great suggestion, is we could just rattle off, this is what's in it this week. Because some weeks it has different stuff in it, like, elder exemptions and things like that.
Sure.
Thank you.
And then another question I had on the budget process, I see the insurance is pulled out into its own department.
Yes.
Have you ever considered pulling all of the wages and salaries into their own department?
I think that's still part of the operations of that department. And so
Insurance was pulled
Yeah.
out because
it's
some
collected.
departments only have one employee, so it kind of
Skews it.
it shows what that employee is taking for health insurance, which isn't legitimate. So it was pulled out, so it was all grouped together, so you couldn't identify what employee took what type of insurance.
For privacy purposes?
Yes. So as far as payroll, that's part of it's probably most of the department's major operating expenses, their payroll line.
Sure, I was just thinking if there's gonna be this COLA raise going forward, having that all kind of discussed at one time for all of the budgets.
Well,
and
the
then rest-
COLA is not going forward, so this board can't burden next year's board, right? So
No,
it
but
has to be
assuming
voted
next
every
year's-
year. Yeah.
Whatever board
So,
is here next year.
yeah.
will have
Absolutely, and so, you know, I'm new on this board, and so Karen and I had this discussion, and I kind of said, hey, like, you know, I understand that every board makes their own decision, but it would probably be good for our board to set a standard, like on September 1st of every year, we set the compensation for, you know, whatever the COLA is gonna be, et cetera. Because that was the discussion we had last week, is let's standardize it for everybody so that it's just completely equitable and it's not this department does this and just all of the weirdness that was happening. And so that would be my suggestion. I'll be on the board again next year, and that will be my suggestion to next year's board, is let's just say, on this date, we're gonna pick COLA, because we get a COLA estimate from our advisors in September-ish, and then the trustees of the trust fund give us a number as well, which this year was 5.2%. And so I think it would make perfect sense, even though it's not all in one budget on paper, before we do the first budget, I think this board should be like, all right, what's our compensation plan for the year? How's the economy? What's inflation? What's our overall financial situation look like? Do we have ARPA left? All of those factors, and just sort of set it for the year, and then it's decided. And then the next year they'll do it, the next year they'll do it. You know, just like I said, you can't tell future boards what to do. But I think if we had kind of a routine where we made those compensation decisions at the same time every year, that would make the most sense to me. So Karen and I had kind of talked about that unofficially, that maybe we should build that into like the budget schedule, is like, okay, let's just do the one-time compensation decision. And a few of the things aren't related, like, you know, how FD sets their starting salary and how PD sets their starting salary. That's totally separate from just like, what's your cost of living change for the year. And so I think if we just like standardize it, put it on the agenda, and then every board every year will decide it. And if there's been different decisions over the years about how to do it, and that will probably happen in the future as well. It won't necessarily always be COLA plus merit. That's just what we decided this year. So I absolutely agree with you. I don't know that they all need to be on one piece of paper, but I think that discussion about how we're gonna set compensation should just be part of our routine, and just really above board and just clear to everybody before they start building their budgets. Because then when they come to us, it's just like done. It takes a lot of the like stress out of trying to present your budget, because you're saying, following the board's recommendation of blah, 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 here you go. So that was what we were trying to aim for, sort of that consistency across the board.
What about creating some sort of a payroll budget that lumped, maybe not necessarily police, fire, and highway, but town administration, so that the employees here that have, you know, it's the one employee per budget, if we were able to sort of put those in a budget and still be able to identify which departments they belong to, but all of them being, instead of presenting you with 12 budgets that are COLA and merit or whatever compensation package you've already pre-approved, and then putting them all together in one place and saying, this is what we've discussed, this is how they fall in the matrix, and here you go.
Would that be easier?
Well, I think logistically I'd have to figure out sort of how to get there, but I think that would sort of eliminate a lot of the negativity that can surround budget season and the stress. Because instead of all of the town employees coming in here and fighting for wages independently and then doing the same at the budget table, it can all be included in one budget all together. You can still say, here's code enforcement, here's rec, here's town clerk, here's town administration and finance, but it would all be one number based off of whatever recommendation is set at the beginning of budget season.
I think you could do that. I think the hard thing would be if you were comparing year over year budgets.
Right.
That would be hard.
Right.
Well, that happened
That
when we
first
moved
year.
insurance. You know, it was off. so
For
you
1
had
year,
to-
it's hard.
Right.
Yeah.
And so that 1 year, every department had to present 2 budgets. This is what it would have looked like combined, and this is how it
Gotcha.
looks like now, so that you could still compare them
And the other
apples to
thing,
apples.
the other thing that came up during budget seasons before, and the reason why we didn't do just a flat, everyone gets this raise, is there was a couple of years where we were just doing COLA. Everyone was just getting the same.
Sure.
And so that's when we went to merit and tried saying, we need people to get reviews and see how they're performing. And even in, you know, some offices last year, we had some that were underperforming and they didn't get a raise. But we had basically said, all right, we're looking for this percentage overall. If one person gets it because the other one didn't get it, that's fine. but we had to balance it off, the total amount that they had. And I think that's what we were trying to do last week, is say, we understand that there's an inflation, so we're gonna do 5%, and then there can be up to this much. Not everyone might be getting that, somebody might get 3, and somebody might get 1 because of performance. So there's gotta be a performance-based measurement somewhere.
I agree, I think that makes
So-
sense, it's
and-
motivating to
Yeah,
employees.
so I think it's the right thing to do, you know, and I know, you know, in my industry, my company just said 5% across the board. Everyone gets 5%.
So Karen, maybe we can think about that a little and run it by BudCom and see whether there's any major, I mean, the only major drawback I can think of is just that need to sort of clarify, oh, our budget was 100,000, but now it's only, 40,000 because we took the salaries out. It just makes comparing apples and apples a little bit harder that first year.
Yeah.
After that, it doesn't. So, I think it's worth us thinking about, and you're right, it might make budget season easier because we could just do salary day, done.
Done.
And then the rest of the operational budgets. Okay, I wouldn't be opposed to that, as long as we can, figure out if there's any unintended consequences that we're not thinking of.
And then lastly, we're getting ready to set our tax rate. I've been calling DRA every single day to see when we'll be ready, and so I'll need you to be folks at the ready, just in case I need to call a meeting.
I just won't be available.
24 hours notice, of course, but maybe off schedule.
I will not be.
Julie?
Hey, real quick, because my daughter's begging me for my vehicle. Julie Believa, 62 Lightford Lane. I am speaking as a private citizen. To what Russ brought up just a little while ago, I am the one that posted the information on Brentwood Chats. If there was anything that was posted on any other town pages, I am not aware of because I'm on one page. When I was not here on Tuesday, I asked some folks who were here at the last meeting, hey, did I miss anything? What do I need to know? So I posted the information. I'm not quite sure what the attack comments are unless it's on a different page. I viewed some of the comments, and I know some people made a couple of weird comments, but I didn't see anything that was attacking select board members. So I'm not sure. I am not a malicious person at all. I don't have that bone in my body. But I do believe in giving information and people so that they can understand. I didn't go to that meeting. I didn't know what was going on. So that's why I'm speaking up to that, because I'll post anything I need to post so that people are aware. The word misinformation gets passed around a lot. I don't necessarily believe that there's any misinformation, and I believe you were showing what Lois was holding, or letter, or whatever. That's whatever she had to say, fine, but there were numbers flying around from last Tuesday that were not numbers that were given here tonight. So I think it's great in regards to anybody saying that the troops were rallied. There's definitely not troops that were rallied. People showed up because they found out about the post.
I have to disagree with
That's
that.
not factual, Julie.
There was a post.
I didn't rally anybody, I showed up after.
Some other groups
Okay.
did.
Okay, I didn't know that, so that's not my business. If people decide to do
received.
that, great. But all I want to say is I did that for information so that townspeople would know.
Yeah, we get it. And Julie, I agree 100%.
Yeah.
And my full intentionality was for it to be on the agenda, and it got put in notes because that's how things are done here.
Sure.
And it's one of the
absolutely.
many things I would like to see changed, and it sounds like we're gonna change it.
Perfect.
So
I'm
thank you
absolutely
for
happy for
pushing
that.
the issue,
Yep.
because I was just waiting on it for a while, and now we're not going to, and we're just gonna do it now.
Perfect, absolutely, that's wonderful. And I appreciate that, and I will say, respect does go both ways.
Sure.
Yeah.
Alright. I don't see any other hands, so I'll take a,
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
all in favor?
Aye.
I don't know why you won't let us have a drink cart, honestly.
Yeah, I think